Hi there and welcome back to Plow and Pantry. Today we have the 2-week update on the Pantry challenge for this year, and I am a little bit giddy with how it's turning out so far. I'll get to that in a minute. It's early in the morning on a snow day holiday. I am trying to film before everyone wakes up, but I hear feet upstairs. So let's get this started, okay? Let's remember, I go back to, I do Monday to Sunday week. So going back to last Monday, January 8th, for the girls' breakfast before school, I made them breakfast cookies. It's one of their favorite meals. It uses oats and peanut butter and applesauce and things we usually have on hand. I, though, had eggs with ham and cheese and red onion, one of my favorite ways to eat it, and bacon on the side, had all that stuff on hand. In the afternoon, it was a nice day and I was trying to get a lot of gardening done, so I didn't eat lunch. I was busy gardening. We did eat out that night, which was in the plans. We had a long swim meet in another town, and we had planned ahead to eat out, and during the meet, go get it, bring it back, that type of thing. Helps the time go by a little faster. So Tuesday, January 9th, I pulled out frozen pancakes that I found in my freezer. That's what I do when I make things like pancakes and waffles and biscuits, and I have a few extra that don't get eaten. I slip them with wax paper between the layers, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, pull out some later, and that's what I did. We had, I think there were 4 pancakes in there. They were just for my girls. I used some leftover roast beef from the week before to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Love that with I decided to put pickled onion on it. I always have pickled onion on hand. It's something I like to have in my salads and like grain bowls, that type of thing. And I had used some keto bread that needed to be used up. I've had it in the fridge forever. I want to say it's like an Aldi version of Dave's Killer something. It was good, I just haven't used it. And so I was trying to use up small packages, left the remainders of things. We had tacos for dinner that night because the day was busy. I used canned chicken from down in the long-term pantry. Love canned chicken. Made a video about how I raw pack can my chicken just the other day. I'll link that, and that's what we had. We had tortillas still on hand and all the makings for tacos. Wednesday, I got some frozen bananas out of the freezer and made banana bread. It's partly we keep frozen bananas there for banana bread and smoothies, so that was another using up stuff from the indoor freezer. For my lunch that day, I had a soup from a freezer day that I didn't film. I will do freezer cooking days every now and then to make lunches for myself for when I'm home alone working. I'm trying to be better about feeding myself well when I'm home alone all day, instead of just grabbing bits of crackers and cheese and stuff as I go, but to like make something, sit down, enjoy it. And I had made a batch of one of my favorites, kale and sausage soup. I do have a video on how I make that though. And I put it in individual tubs in one of my freezers. I pulled one of those out. That night, my husband and I went out. It was Wednesday, which is youth group night. My girls eat at youth group. My husband and I go out on a date. I explained that in an earlier video. Okay, moving on to Thursday. We had breakfast burrito. Okay, here's what it is. Breakfast burrito, one breakfast burrito I found from a breakfast freezer cooking day. I'll link that video. There was like one left that I thought they were all gone, but it must have been when we didn't eat in that batch that I pulled out. So I gave that to one of my daughters. My other daughter doesn't eat egg, so she had leftover banana bread from the day before. I also made myself a kale hash that I like for breakfast in the winter. I use kale from the garden, sausage that I had in the freezer, sweet potato that I have still sitting around. I made a video about that too, how I make that. It's, I love it. For dinner that night, I dug into the freezer and pulled out a package of kielbasa and some boxes of red beans and rice from the pantry. So we had kielbasa with red beans and rice, and I pulled out veggies we're trying to use up and made a veggie tray and sliced an apple and segmented a tangerine. And so we had kielbasa with red beans and rice, veggies, and fruit. Friday school got called off for weather, which ended up not being weather. So my plans were, it was a crazy day. My plans were all messed up. So one of the things I do here, if I'm going to go to my regular grocery store in town, we only have one, their best deals are Friday, Saturday. And so I will go early on Friday morning. They did not have any awesome deals this week, except that they have our favorite tortilla chips on sale. And I was like, we are completely out. We do have salsa to use up. We do have avocados I need to use up so I can make guac. But I was like, do I want to go all the way into town? Because we don't live near any grocery stores. This is like 15 miles away, maybe more. I was like, do I want to go all the way into town? Well, then I ended up needing to go to the post office. And if I'm going into town, it's only like 4 blocks. You know, the post office is right by the grocery store. And I realized I also was going to need dog food. So decided to go into town. I had an Azure pickup. I did mention in a previous video that I had an Azure pickup that didn't count because it doesn't count against the Pantry Challenge spending because I actually bought that in December before I decided to do the Pantry Challenge. And it wasn't like a stock up, half of it's not even food. I'll get to that at the end of the video. So the story behind the grocery store trip though was because I was just gonna get the tortilla chips and the dog food, but one of my daughters being off from school wanted to do some cooking and found a new recipe for mac and cheese that she really wanted to try. And she wanted to do it the way the recipe was. So here's how it works when we don't have something on hand that they want to make. I will tell them, here's what you can substitute. We didn't have, out of the things she needed for the recipe, we had most of it. We didn't have Colby Jack cheese, heavy cream, or the twisty pasta, not like rotini. I think it's called, is it called twist? I'll figure it out. Anyways, I'll say things like, well, you can use whole milk instead of heavy cream. We have that. We have other pasta, different shape. So then we'll make a choice like, do I want to make substitutions and make it now? Or I'll say, or you can wait till next time I go to the grocery store. And if you remember from previous videos, my twist this year is I am trying to not let my family know that we're doing a Pantry Challenge. I'm trying to play business as usual and see how long it takes until it gets odd enough that they're like, what's going on here? You know? So I offered like I normally would. You can make this substitution, or wait till I go to the store. But she knew that I was going to be going to the store. So she's like, I'll wait if you can pick it up at the store. So that's going to end up in my totals for the week, which is part of why I did have a little bit of grocery wiggle room. So on Friday, I'm coming back to that mac and cheese in a moment. It was really good, by the way. So on Friday, school got called off. I made pimento cheese breakfast sandwiches. It's my favorite way to make them. I pulled out biscuits from the freezer that I have. Again, just like the pancakes, if I make them and there's a couple that don't fit in the pan, I'll just freeze it in the little dough pucks, just like frozen biscuits that you buy in the freezer section. I pulled some of those out, and I like to mix cayenne pepper and honey into pimento cheese, and I put that on it with egg and bacon. So that was breakfast that day. Lunch is on our own. Usually some people had leftovers, so I made a sandwich, that kind of stuff. For dinner, I tried a new recipe. I will link it below because it was really good. I had meant to do it back in December. It's a Boursin chicken. I bought Boursin cheese for it in December. And when I was going through the fridge this week, I was like, oh, I only have another few days before this expires. So I put it on the menu. We had my daughter's new mac and cheese that she made. And we had salad with that too. So that was a really good recipe though. So I will link it for you. Saturday breakfast, I found some chocolate chip muffins in the deep freezer from, again, the breakfast freezer cooking day. I thought we were out of those. I ordinarily would not pull those out for a weekend meal. I normally make a bigger breakfast in the weekend, but everyone was going everywhere kind of early in the morning, and I wanted them to grab food. One of my daughters was going off to work, and I knew she wouldn't make time to eat, so I wanted her to have something in her tummy. So I just pulled those out, and we had those. Lunch is on your own. Dinner that night, I made chili in the crock pot. We had all the fixins for it, and I made cornbread muffins. We also had the stuff to make that. My husband had asked, this is going to come into next week's grocery bill, had asked for chili cheese hot dogs, which was a weird request. We don't usually eat that unless like we're having friends over to grill and we're doing hamburgers and hot dogs, or we're going to take a meal somewhere like a swim meet. We'll take hot dogs. But he was saying, it was like, I know it's random, but I'm craving it. And so I said I would, if I make the chili, I always have something with leftovers, chili baked potato, Cincinnati spaghetti, something like that. So I told him I would get hot dogs and buns this week. We could have that. So it was a good week. Here's what I bought and why. I went to Aldi. I forgot to take a picture of the food, but I do have the receipt. I will put up a picture when I edit this, but I don't have it with me right this moment because I am downstairs trying to avoid the dog and waking children. Let's see, what did I get? I got salad. I might have to slide in a card here. I will have the receipt though. I think I got milk too. What I spent though was $15.13. So that was pretty good and well under my $50 for the week. If you've forgotten my rules, I can link you back to my playlist for the month. But I have a $50 a week limit at the grocery store, which normally we spend between $250 and $300 a week at the grocery store. Family of 5, I buy high quality food, and I've got athletic kids who eat a lot. So then the grocery store, regular grocery store, I was just going to go for the chips, which I was going to buy 2 bags, which would have been $7, but then I had to buy the stuff for the mac and cheese. So I ended up spending $20.56. I could have spent less, but there was, I took a video clip and I will insert it. There, the Colby Jack cheese, we only needed an 8-ounce block, which was my intention to buy it. They were out of it. The 1-pound block was only a few cents less than the 2-pound block that was apparently being closed out. So I went ahead and paid the few cents extra and got the 2-pound block. Even though we don't use that much Colby cheese, we'll use it just because that was a really good deal that came out to like $2 and something cents per pound, which is great. What was also helpful this week with staying under budget was that there still were not sales that super duper tempted me. So, I mean, that's helpful. I also was cleaning out my purse and I found a coupon for meat. I have not used it yet, but I forgot my husband at one of his job places gets a little, like a gift certificate for our local grocery store on any meat products. Once a year at Thanksgiving, they give it to him. And so I'm waiting for a good deal. I always like to combine that with a good deal to like really maximize it. And it doesn't expire for almost a year. So I can keep that to use. I may or may not use it during Pantry Challenge. We'll see. But that helped me stay under budget, which let me add this up real quick. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing after this. So normally, I spent this week, let's see, $15.13, looking at my notes here, and $20.56. I spent $35.69. My limit was $50, so I still have $14.31 left. I will try to put on the screen how much I have spent so far this month and how much extra I have because I was under budget last week too. Yes. Let's see. Oh, the Azure haul, I will show you really quick. There's chicken feed, there's a few toiletry items, there's some Desert Essence shampoo and conditioner I've not tried before, but I have liked their lotion for a long, long time and wanted to try it. I did get some cheese, a new one I wanted to try, and my standard favorite was in there, some baking soda and baking powder. I'm low on both of those, and I like getting baking powder from Azure because I can find one that does not have aluminum and it is really cheap. And just a couple other items. Oh, I got sunchokes. I've planted them before, but my husband kept mowing over them by accident. And I decided I might as well taste them since they had them available. I might as well taste them before I plant them again because they're on my order list for this year, the Jerusalem artichokes. So we will taste those somehow and see if we like them. So in addition to Azure and that stuff, here is what I learned this week. And again, I didn't think I'd learn anything during this challenge, but I have like a new hope dream of maybe, because my freezer is doing such a good job of getting cleared out, I'm thinking I might be able, when this is over, to buy like a quarter cow, which I have never done before. I've always wanted to. We do have a place locally that I like to buy grass-fed beef from, but I've only bought individual cuts either at the farmer's market or there's a local little like mercantile they sell at. But I usually don't have even room in my freezer to contemplate it. And I was thinking I might have room to get that, which, taking a quick minute here, I need a drink, hold on. I was realizing could be an impetus for another shift in my homestead food supply, in that when you start out and you're like gardening to replace stuff that you normally use so that you're not buying at the store. For example, for me, I started out growing as many tomatoes as I could because I used canned tomatoes from the store a lot. Didn't have a lot of pantry space, so I actually ended up, I would like blanch and peel and de-seed and chop them and freeze them and use them. And I remember being in this little tiny house in the suburbs and having enough tomatoes to last me through March before I had to buy them at the store again. And that's kind of how you go when you get started on homesteading. You start to grow stuff to replace so you don't have to buy it. But eventually things happen that make you try new things, and you start to shift to where you're more growing and making things to use from there and then using the store to fill in. And I'm kind of mid there. But then there's this part, like for the meat for me, I spend as much as I can on the higher quality meat before I buy regular grocery store meat, but it's not all of our meat. That would be crazy expensive. But if I've saved enough money from a grocery challenge and made enough room in the freezer, then I could package that and make that happen, which would then start it. That becomes like a cycle, you know, where I don't have to spend that money on meat in the store. And so I have it for that to replenish. And so it's just one of those things that the pantry challenge has enabled, maybe if I do both months, which I haven't thought about. And if you recall in the beginning, I said I wasn't sure I was going to do both months. I was like 50-50 on February. And now I'm kind of fairly certain that I want to do February just to make more room and make that happen. Kind of a little, it's a small dream, but it's a dream of mine to be able to buy like a quarter cow and get it in the freezer. Let's see, what else? Okay, I want to say too that I used a couple things from the pantry freezer actually that we didn't use for food, or at least not yet. So I did pull out one large family pack of chicken to make a canning video because I am doing Canuary, and that is, but I'm doing the pantry challenge. I didn't want to buy meat that was barely on sale for that, so I pulled some out of the freezer and canned it. Also, I pulled out a bag of corn for the chickens. We're getting snow soon today. And what I do in the summer when I'm harvesting the corn from the garden, because I organically grow my corn, which even a lot of organic farmer or gardeners don't, because it's very, very prone to these little worms that get in the top. And what I will often do is either cut off the top and give that to the chickens, or freeze it for the winter because the corn helps them stay warm. Or I will, like, and every now and then there's a whole cob that is just too damaged by something, whether it's a bug or something else, or it just didn't germinate well, so it's more spotty in the kernels. And I will put those in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, keep it for winter, pull it out, give them a couple cobs a day, because carbs, their body processing the carbs makes them stay warm. We're supposed to get down to like 8 degrees this week. So I pulled that bag out to start feeding them a couple, and I think I have some more of that in there that I will probably use in the coming week. So 2 things that I also used up from the pantry, which someone asked me about that when I'm talking about my freezer all the time, but we use pantry to refer to all of our food supply that is on hand. We have our working pantry upstairs, which would be like our fridge, freezer, and the food storage in the kitchen. And the long-term pantry for me is mostly in the basement. I do have a deep freezer in my garage and a deep freezer in my basement. That's all part of the long-term storage pantry. Pantry doesn't just mean dry goods like canned food and beans, just FYI. So that is this week's update Pantry challenge going well. 2 weeks down with my family not knowing, so that's awesome. And we'll see if we can keep that up. And we'll see if I can, we're halfway through January, so we'll see if I can be certain by the end of this month that I still want to do February and still be able to get that, see if we'll be able to get that cow in my freezer. I have reached out to that local farm I like because I couldn't find anything about a whole or half or quarter cow on their website. And so I've sent them a message to see if they will do that. I don't even know if they will do that. But I will see you guys next Monday for another Pantry Challenge update. I would love to know if you're doing the Pantry Challenge, how it went this week for you. And if anybody is scoring any good deals at the grocery store too, because if you remember, I was going to let myself bust my budget if there was a super great, awesome deal. And there surprisingly has not been any. There's been nothing that's tempted me here locally. So that's both good and bad. I am a little bit addicted to food deals. I don't love to shop, but I do love grocery shopping and grocery deals. Anyways, I will see you guys next week. Thank you for stopping by, and let me know in the comments how your week went with your pantry.